Well, that's interesting. And welcome viewers to the Daily Space Weather. And congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Smasho here, coming at you from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, just bringing you the freshest imagery you'll find anywhere in the universe. So there you go. I mean, it's, spectacular X-ray flare. An X-class X-ray flare. We're only showing about 2 hours of solar activity there. I think we're showing exactly 2 hours of solar activity there. And if you wanted an even closer up view, there you go. It's actually 3 different wavelengths there. 2 species of ionized iron, 1 of ionized helium. So we've actually slowed it down. We normally show 30 frames per second. Here we're showing only 10 frames per second. Did it produce a coronal mass ejection? Or was there a coronal mass ejection associated with it? Did one cause it? There's also a filament fest going on. Let's look at this flare up close one more time. And then blast through yet another Daily Space Weather video classic. This is one for the ages, perhaps. So let's move to our filament fest. We've got a huge filament fest going on. The likelihood of coronal mass ejection is very, very high. We've got the Renee Gable filament up here. We've got the Kanye West filament now in the western limb of the sun. So that's your northwestern limb. Here's your southwestern limb. The Bill Nye, the Science Nab filament is down here. And that's still hanging out. And the Zach Tovin filament is up here. And let's check out the southeastern limb. Perhaps some more filaments ought to be named, like this prominence down here. And we certainly have a prominence to be named. If you want to play name that filament, hit us up on Twitter. So this new rising filament up here, you see it right there. It's still there. At least as we began our stream, it was still there. That one will need a name, so play Name That Filament on Twitter at Smashomash. If you don't follow us, well, I don't know, create a Twitter account if you don't have one. If you're wondering if the pathetic censorship has been fixed, the answer is, well, absolutely not. Deboosting features remain in effect. You won't get outright banned for posting truth about COVID. However, you will be shadow banned if you already were. Yes, it's fun. So there are some CMEs happening. We'll tell you later in the video if those are directed toward the Earth. Let's take a look at sunspots. There is an inordinate number of them. We've reached a new high in terms of the radio flux. We'll be reaching a new high in terms of the sunspot number again today. We've got another group forming here. That's yesterday plus today, by the way. So we've got 3 more named groups to show up in the northern hemisphere. It is a new maximum in solar cycle 25. Everybody who's been forecasting a grand solar minimum continues to be utterly incorrect about their forecast. Surprised Zarkova has even come back onto the scene. Remember, folks, if you don't understand the inputs to your magnetic dynamo, how are you going to be able to project it moving forward? In any case, new sunspots. It's a new high of solar activity. And let's see what's going on in terms of volcanoes here, as we don't only cover space weather, we cover the Earth environment as well. So Shivaluch continues to erupt here in an explosive fashion and produce a flight level 150, a 15,000-foot ash plume over the Kamchatka Peninsula. Abiko, 10,000-foot ash plume. Subanose Jima, 6,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. Semaru exploding, flight level 140. That's a 14,000-foot ash plume. Don't fly your homemade ultralight aircraft over Semaru's caldera. Merapi, 10,000-foot ash plume over Merapi, as well as it explodes. It's a flight level 100. Kilauea there has slowed down its effusive eruption. Popocatépetl exploding, flight level 200. Fuego exploding, flight level 160. Nevado del Ruiz exploding, flight level 220. Sangay exploding, flight level 220. Revenador exploding, flight level 150. And Sabancaya exploding, flight level 270. It's a 27,000-foot ash plume. The largest in the world is over Peru at the moment. Also, seismic activity at extreme levels here, having multiple high 7 magnitude earthquakes. Keep in mind, folks, an 8 magnitude earthquake is 10 times as powerful as a 7 magnitude earthquake. And there is the latest. That one came in yesterday at Indonesia. That was a 7.6. And it was at extreme depth there, over 100 kilometers, so not likely to have caused any sort of tsunami activity. That came in at 1747 yesterday, Universal Time on January 9th. Let's scroll up the list here. Remember, folks, any earthquake can be a foreshock. Let's hope that's not a foreshock to a 9 magnitude earthquake, especially one at the surface, as that would cause ridiculous tsunamis and all kinds of destruction. There was also a 5.4 at Indonesia, and a whole host of aftershocks there. Of course, Vanuatu had a 5.0. So certainly seismic activity is in a certain part of the planet. 5.7 at Vanuatu also. Solomon Islands had a 5.0. And let's get back to space. It's where it's at. Space, a frontier. These are the voyages of the YouTube channel Smasho. And thanks for leaving comments, TinMan1057 and One Audio. Exciting stuff going on here. So we're delighted to bring it to you. Whew. I blew myself right off the screen. So there's what's going on in ionized helium. This new active region in the north is quite active as well, producing some M-class flares. There's a different series of wavelengths there. That's 1700 plus 171 angstroms from SDO. It's an exciting time to be doing space stuff. And by the way, for you new viewers out there, the reason I got into heliophysics is because of cosmology. So in 1994, I was taking college astronomy, and I realized that a deep dive had to be done into heliophysics, because our basis for understanding distant galaxies is in understanding what's going on inside the sun. So that's one of those things where you ask questions, you enter the rabbit hole, you find answers to questions not asked, more questions, and often no answers to questions asked. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux now up to 191 solar flux units, a new high for solar cycle 25, as we forecasted yesterday. There is the graph. That is the new high of radial flux. Will also reach the new high of sunspot number. We've got several new named sunspot groups here to raise that red line, which is a sunspot number, up toward where the black line is. That's the radial flux. And a space weather enthusiast dashboard here, not forecasting any geomagnetic storms, a prime example of how it can be stormy on the sun and calm on the Earth. There's your KP index, which is at 1. KP1, very geomagnetically calm conditions on planet Earth. Here's what the earthly geospace likely looks like, the model by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. For the past 4 hours, magnetohydrodynamic pressure modeled here. The units are nanopascals. So quite calm today, and yowzers, my coffee is spicy. Here is our ground magnetic perturbations map, Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. We showed you it from space. Now we're showing you it from the ground. So there you have it. That's the last 4 hours Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Geomagnetically calm conditions. No particularly odd magnetic pulses happening here at the moment. Things looking quite normally. Next, real-time solar wind. We're getting some normal values here, about 7 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density, solar wind speed just under 400 kilometers per second at 389. There was a minor coronal mass ejection impact right in here. See this area right here, some spikes where we see changes in the plasma temperature, solar wind velocity, and solar wind density. Telltale signs of a coronal mass ejection, very minor and sporadic. Next, looking at magnetic data, because, well, It's important. That's the GOES magnetometers on GOES 16 and GOES 18. And let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet polarity next. Now, this data comes from 51 ground-based observatories, as well as stereo A out here at Lagrange 5 and stereo B out here at Lagrange 4. We're seeing a delay in the arrival of the North Pole current sheet. Not really a surprise there, as we see a very active sunspot rising in the northeast. The magnetic tug-of-war continues on the eastern limb of the closest star. Here's our line-of-sight field plot. Solar polar fields shown here in red for south, green for north, solar B field in blue. If you're wondering what a B field is, it's the field that goes through the magnet, this magnet being the sun. And let's move to coronal holes. Again, magnetic tug-of-war happening over there in the east. We are waiting to see what resolves there. Will we see more sunspots in the north, more in the south, or an equal number in both? We're certainly seeing a lot, and at the moment we've got some North Pole-oriented coronal holes rotating in here, so I think the North Pole current sheet is indeed on the way. So let's take a look here at coronal holes. We're going to show you the SDO 211 angstroms wavelength next. And again, these new coronal holes rotating in here from the east, those are North Pole oriented. So I think the North Pole current sheet is still on the way here. Again, we'll have to see what happens with these sunspots. But if these degrade, we could see a South Pole current sheet remain. So that's something that is beyond my ability to forecast. Next, moving to sunspots, and wow, do we have a lot. The likelihood of another X-class flare or several X-class flares remains probably higher than 50%. We've got multiple beta gamma delta class sunspot groups. 3181 is beta gamma delta class, 3182 is beta gamma delta class, 3184 is beta gamma delta class, and this one up here probably also beta gamma delta class. We'll take a look at it later in the video. Here's some imagery from SDO the last 24 hours. And let's zoom in a little bit closer. So new sunspots here to get named. So this one here needs a name. I think there are actually 3 new named sunspot groups in the northern hemisphere. So 3186, 3187, etc. Let's check out their formation. And that is a lot of sunspots. Next, we'll move to energetic particles. We did finally see, after a couple of months with no proton spikes, we finally saw a minor uptick in the proton flux. A small, nearly irrelevant proton event. It peaked early this morning. It showed up just after midnight. It peaked around 0 dark 50. And there is our flare profile. And that X-class flare, peak flux of that was at about 1840, make it 1850. It was an X 1.98 class flare. So at least three M-class flares since then as well. And here's the last 24 in 131 angstroms. Yowzers. That's what you call some solar activity. And here's a close-up once again. This is 131 all by itself. And that, my friends and foes, is what you call the money shot. We'll also show 94 angstroms, the other wavelength specifically designed to view solar flares. There is the last 24 hours in 30 frames per second. And there is just a select 2-hour series of frames at 10 frames per second. If you want to make your own videos, use 1800 to 2000. It lasted from 1800 to approximately 2000 hours universal time. That may be the best flare we've ever captured on the channel. Moving on to orient ourselves, so let's take a step back here and see what's going on over Lehigh Valley. So that's what's going on over Lehigh Valley. The moon is up there somewhere, obscured behind some thick cloud cover. And I don't know what I've clicked on, but I don't like it. We've got Mercury just rising over the horizon as well. And let's do a solar system forecast. So Mercury's blasting past here. Let's advance this 1 week. We've got a gibbous waning at the moment. And in 7 days, we'll have a crescent waning moon as Earth moves to the lonely side of the solar system, devoid of gas giants. Keep in mind that imagery is not to scale. Let's take a look at coronagraphs again, because there have been some CMEs. Are they headed toward Earth? Are they going to destroy all of civilization? Well, the answer is certainly not. Even if they were directed toward the Earth, it wouldn't destroy all of civilization. You realize that some power grids are shielded, right? Anyway, that's yesterday's frames. Here are today's 38 frames. And let's take a closer look here, or maybe a farther look, from stereo A at Lagrange 5 and the Soho-Lasco C3 at Lagrange 1. So this is a prime example of CMEs that are spectacular, but not earthly directed. So for you new viewers out there, Earth would be off in this orientation from stereo A. It would be off to the right. None of those coronal mass ejections are earthly directed. They're all on the far side of the sun or coming out of the south. Again, stereo A located here at Lagrange 5. And leave us a comment if you agree that we need a new stereo B that includes an X-ray detector, so we can toy with the possibility that solar flares are anisotropic, meaning they appear at a different intensity depending on viewing angle. That would be an important feature of physics, wouldn't it? In any case, there's the last 24 hours in composite. Those CMEs are just a light show, basically. So that X-class flare was associated with a coronal mass ejection. It's just nowhere near Earth. Not by any stretch of the imagination. So if you've entered your bunker because of the X-ray flare, you could probably come back out now, because it's not going to kill you, folks. And the X-rays don't even get to ground level, if you're wondering. Next, looking at filaments, and we have a filament fest indeed. So we've got the Renee Gable filament, we've got the Kanye West filament, we've got the Bill Nye filament down here, then the Zach Tovin filament, that's this one. And we do need a name for this filament up here in the northeast for sure, and probably this one as well. So let's play Name That Filament. So we've only had 2 players so far. Mark up the image if you like. Name those filaments in the east. By the way, nobody will see your tweets because you're probably shadow banned too, so congratulations on that. I would also note, look at who, and by the way, what are these? Gold check marks now? Oh, there's blue check marks and gold check marks. If you pay Twitter $10,000 a month, you get a gold check mark. And if you are a complete imbecile and you're willing to pay Twitter $8 a month for your blue check mark, you are part of the problem. Way to cast your dollar votes. Way to cast your dollar votes. Yeah, send Twitter $8 a month and continue to be deboosted. That makes a lot of sense, right? Makes a lot of sense. Yes, if you're deboosted and you buy a blue check mark, you'll still be deboosted. Don't be an idiot. So here's the last couple of hours from Goes 16 SUVI. And frankly, you better name this filament quickly because it looks like it's collapsing. It also could eject. And how about the last 24 hours? In the wavelength where we started. This is our filament fest wavelength. We've put up 304 plus 193 angstroms. Both wavelengths that are fairly definitive when it comes to showing filaments. And this brings us to our bonus features segment. So, one of the aspects of the Earth space environment is, of course, how satellites are handling things. At the moment, quite well. There are no charging hazards up there at all of the internal or surface charging variety. There is your GOES electron flux here, kind of low. And we are expecting a little uptick in it. Let's check the NOAA forecast. There is the NOAA forecast for electron flux. Expecting a tiny uptick. No argument from me there. There's the one-year chart to put the electron flux in context. And we'll also take a look at the F-layer. The F-layer of the ionosphere, the vibrational frequency therein. That's where the GOES 16 and 18 measure the electron flux at about 300 kilometers of altitude. They're located at about 22,500 miles of altitude. They use radiography to measure the electron flux at this layer. So this is the vibrational frequency of the F-layer of the ionosphere. Data courtesy of Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. Shout out to Kimberly Nichols. I wouldn't know about this one if it wasn't for Kimberly. She sent me some ionosphere map and I said, what? Then I realized you can view the whole planet. And hence we show it daily on the channel. So thanks to all of our clients, our viewers who have contributed to the content. Here's the anomalygram. We showed the raw vibrational frequency. This is anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median, which makes it super obvious where the South Pacific anomaly is located, and actually where the South African anomaly is located. Although it should be renamed as well to the Equatorial African anomaly because now it's right about there, near the equator, right at the west coast of Africa. And let's show the latest image. There's 11:45 universal time ionogram. And there's 11:45 universal time anomalygram. We'll also show the total electron content. Why? It'll show you the most likely places for GPS errors, and the likelihood of GPS errors in your location is very high at some point in the next 24 hours. Most of the people on the planet live in the northern hemisphere, and there are massive GPS errors expected all around the world. Those electrons are all out of place. I mean, they're all over the place there. Of course, they are still concentrated around the equator at noontime. However, huge GPS errors there expected over North America. I mean, that is a sloppy total electron content. That is the free electrons up to about 12,500 miles of altitude, which is about where your GPS satellite is located. So very large areas of GPS errors. Perhaps turn on your Wi-Fi location accuracy. When you're navigating, it might help you out if you have Wi-Fi hotspots where you are attempting to navigate. So here's our latest intensity gram and latest colorized magnetogram, and these sunspots are quite complex. So this group here, that is beta gamma delta class. That group there is beta gamma delta class. That group there is beta gamma delta class. That group there is beta gamma class at least. That group's beta gamma class. That group's beta gamma delta class. Close. Anyway, there's your rock back. And that brings us to the realm of meteorology. So, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks Twitch viewers for leaving comments. We always appreciate that. Congratulations on realizing the Twitch channel exists. And let's move to meteorology, as there's fascinating stuff to cover from an Earth scale as well. So at the Smash News Network, we bring you all sorts of useful facts. There is what's going on in terms of significant wave height. And check it out. We've got nearly 50-foot waves in the North Pacific. So there's a huge jet stream intensification there. There's a bunch of heat making its way from the Pacific Ocean into the North American continent. That is our significant wave height imagery, by the way. Let's switch to sea surface temperature anomaly. So now we're going to actually show, ocean plus wind and sea surface temperature anomaly. So you see the way the jet stream is blowing across the Pacific here. There's a bunch of warm water up here, and that is, some of that warmth is being siphoned off of the Pacific and making its way toward North America there. A super interesting jet stream that, you got this very smooth, straight jet stream here over the Pacific, and that's sending a lot of moisture into the realm of California. So yeah, the ocean anomalously warm up there in the North Pacific, and this is over 6 degrees Fahrenheit above normal there. 7.3 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. So keep in mind, folks, warm air is less viscous than cold air as well. It's less viscous, less massive. And let's take a look at the jet streams of the eastern world. So there are the jet streams of the east. You can see this coherent jet stream here over the North Pacific. Here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Powerful low pressure there south of the Aleutian Islands. Here are the surface winds of the Americas. The jet streams of the Americas, depicted here. Jet streams of the central world, that's Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. And there is the surface wind scenario. It's a windy day in the central Mediterranean. Let's take a look at clouds and fog over the Americas. That's our 3.9 nanometer radiation satellite. It's too dark to use the visible. However, clouds emit radiation. So does fog. That's why it'll mess up your radio telescope. Don't try to use your radio telescope on a foggy night. It will not work. You'll think you're viewing UFOs or something. You'll be viewing water vapor. Anyway, that's what's going on. Let's take a look at our weather.gov map. If your county's lit or your waterway, click your location. We can't go over all that, but we can show you the key. There's the key. And the key to understanding meteorology is understanding atmospheric physics. A little bit of moisture there showing up in California. A little bit of moisture, to say the least. How about another 2+ feet of snow in select areas of the land of fruits and nuts? California, a crazy experiment to see what happens when you over red tape society. How's that working out? How's it working out, California? How's the over-regulation working out? That's the 72-hour GFS total accumulated snow depth change in inches forecast. We show 3-day forecasts, not utter nonsense. You hear that, Diamond? Are you watching? Are you watching, Diamond? 3-day forecasts are valid. 3-week forecasts are utter nonsense. Anyway, there's the 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation forecast. And quite a lot of moisture here making its way across the U.S. That low is going to make a turn to the north, and it's going to show up at my doorstep. And it's going to bring some moisture to the mid-Atlantic states. That's your 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation forecast. Here's your GFS 72-hour temperature anomaly forecast. That is in degrees Celsius. And we've got some quite warm weather indeed coming to the east. So that'll be nice. I don't need it to be icebox cold in January. What about you? Also, some very hot days coming to the east central U.S. Tennessee. Western Tennessee is going to have some hot temperatures there. I mean, reaching like 16 degrees Celsius above normal for this time of year. You'll be sunbathing. Drop us a line on Twitter. Tell us all about it. Or perhaps on Instagram. Next, we are looking at sea surface temperature. Or I thought we were, so let's press refresh. There we go. There is the sea surface temperature. I figured I would show it since we showed anomaly on the nullschool.net map. If you don't have windy.com, check it out. There's a great mobile app. Good times. And thanks for leaving a comment, Jackie2. Shout out from Finland. Yes, fantastic. Finland, featuring some of the best drivers in the world. Let us know in the comments, Jackie2, if you have competed in auto racing. All right, so there's our NASA Goes Lightning Mapper. And let's take a look at lightningmaps.org for a real-time lightning map, powered by blitzortung.org. If you want to spit on your monitor, yell blitzortung.org. Or use a real German accent, blitzortung.org. Or if you want to pronounce it like a Bavarian, blitzortung.org. The Finns race every day in the streets. You see? You see? Is that because of driving in the snow? Let us know. So there's our real-time lightning map, and we do have some terrestrial strikes here in California. Some rare terrestrial strikes around Sacramento. It's Smash Staff's home area. Yes, we imported Smash Staff from the land of fruits and nuts, California. She moved from there to Pennsylvania, evacuating the disaster zone that is the, what is it, the Golden Bear State or something? Anyway, there is some thunder rolling into Sacramento. A rare case of terrestrial lightning strikes covered on the channel there in the state of the land of fruits and nuts, the left coast. If you don't subscribe to the channel, you won't see the videos. We put more information in our thumbnails than some channels in 10 years of daily videos. So we pack a lot of information into the content. We've got playlists that include things that aren't space weather and indeed aren't meteorology. So check those out. You can also find the 12 Days of Smashmas. Yeah, we did the 12 Days of Smashmas. We released some music on all kinds of platforms. You can find Golden Cat Productions over there on Spotify, on iTunes. You can download the tracks via Amazon Music, YouTube Music. We're all over the place. That is the official record label of SmashoMash.com, the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News, etc. Golden Cat Productions, my record label. It's been around since the year about 2000. You can also find links below the video to SureMed. Do yourself a favor and improve your health with an association membership with the American Better Health Organization, otherwise known as SureMed. It's a nonprofit. You get doctors by phone, counselors by phone, virtual veterinarians. Your pet's health can affect yours. So it's an added feature just added in June of 2022. Also discounts at the pharmacy in addition to your insurance if you have insurance to cover prescription medications, you may enjoy additional savings with the pharmacy benefits. That might make it worth it by itself. Also, if you have Medicare, drop me a line. You can find my contact information right on the page below the video. Is a link to it also on the homepage at smashomash.com. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Once again, congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Frankly, we're surprised that you've realized the channel exists. As we started this thing out just basically as a joke, a parody to alarmist nonsense videos on YouTube, we started out with alarmist fake news weather reports, and then we decided to get serious about it because, well, there's a lot of crap, and we've filled a niche that nobody else is able or willing to fill, I guess, is basically the situation. Now, we still are on Patreon also, so that we do have 3 membership levels there at Patreon if you want to support the channel that way. Remember, we make just this side of nothing to put the content on YouTube, so we are still on Patreon. And of course, we've launched our own website back in October of 2021 because, well, pathetic censorship on Facebook caused us to start our own website. And, well, we needed further capabilities. So that's why we created smashomash.com/SmashTeam. It's our own subscription services site. There is a silver, a gold, and a bronze level. There's also a gold annual paid-up subscription. That's actually the best value. It includes some complimentary merch. Smashomash.com/SmashTeam, our preferred way to receive support from you, the viewer. Click posts to see our latest major video outputs. Or check youtube.com/videos. If you're viewing on BitChute, make sure you go subscribe over on YouTube. You're missing most of the content. If you haven't seen the merch, you can link to that on the homepage as well as below this video. They are in order of best selling. Some of them are just simple facts. Some of them are designed to be provocative. Some of them are designed to make a statement or start a conversation. Why do we put out merch? Because reasons. So give Smash staff a raise. She desperately needs one. Perhaps hide behind the galactic current sheet. If you don't understand cosmology, maybe you're worried about it, and congratulations on surviving a global pandemic so far. Today's featured product is Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you, and I'm not just Smash-O-Mash, but I am also a client. So, yeah. Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you, not bureaucracies who can't get out of their own way or effectively do their own job. Where's the accountability, folks? Where is the accountability? Have you noticed some problems with accountability? Fraud, nonsense, propaganda, fear-mongering, scams, corporatism, plutocracy. Did I say lack of accountability? Yeah. Well, anyway, it's up to you to make Earth not suck again. So do your part. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. We're doing our part, putting out videos that feature facts instead of fraud. I know it's a lot to ask. Remember, folks, the line between fraud and misrepresentation is a simple line. The line is intent. Misrepresentation is misstating material facts. Fraud is intentionally misstating material facts. Something not done at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We're going to close things out with a little bit more meteorology. Here's some real-time data. That is your U.S. Doppler radar map. Some precipitation has returned to the southern portion of Alaska. We'll focus on the lower 48. The lower 48 states of ALSA, the allegedly United States of America, former nation, now Banana Republic. That's what's going on in terms of the vertical motion of water droplets in the air column. Here is clouds and fog, 3.9 nanometer radiation from the satellite spiraling around Croissant Earth. Yes, Croissant Earth. NASA wants you to believe it's an oblate spheroid, but everybody that watches our channel is well aware that Earth is shaped like the French pastry. There's water vapor. We've got some rapid evaporation happening there on the wayward side of the Rockies. You can see some water vapor being added to the map there. It's probably because there's so much hot air coming out of Colorado. Anyway, here's your recap. U.S. Doppler radar map. 3.9 nanometer infrared radiation from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. And there's water vapor. If you understand atmospheric physics, that should say a lot. If your Doppler is unclear, this should help you out. And help us out by clicking like, subscribe, share, etc. Leave us a comment. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash. Signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back. Facts stated in this video suppressed to enhance your user experience on social media sites by criminal big tech organizations. Opinions stated in this video, not necessarily the opinions of the Smash News Network, least busted name in news.